When did you win your first world championship?
I won the Nogi Worlds at Purple Belt, maybe in 2017. And just came out of nowhere. I was training at like an MMA gym, which is unheard of. Most guys that win like the world championships in jiu-jitsu are from established jiu-jitsu gyms.
Yeah.
So I actually won my division and the absolute.
So you weren't at Kaya at the time?
I was competing out of a gym called Dethrone MMA. It was an MMA gym.
Okay.
And I was the only competitor from my gym that was competing. Normally you have a whole team that competes together and trains together. And, you know, I was a former MMA fighter, hadn't done that many jiu-jitsu tournaments. It was like maybe my 5th tournament ever. And then at Purple Belt, you know, you are competing against guys that have competed like 40, 50 times in jiu-jitsu by then. Yeah. So yeah, I went and got double gold, and that is the first thing that kind of like put me onto the scene.
Yeah. And were you training much gi at the time? Like
yeah. I just I always loved the gi. You know what it is? I love the idea of one day being a black belt. I love that. When I was a white belt, you know, there was a guy that came into the gym that was a black belt, and I just was like in awe. And I was like, I wanted to, at that time, I wanted to fight in the UFC. I wanted to pursue MMA as my career, but I always had this thing in the back of my head that's like, I'm going to get a black belt in gi jiu-jitsu. And that's only going to complement my MMA career, right? So that was kind of like a little side quest.
Was it a big goal for you to win worlds, or was it like you just like went to worlds and you're like, let me see how I can do?
There was a certain point where, yeah, because at that time I had switched my career path to jiu-jitsu. But my goal wasn't to be a competitor in jiu-jitsu. I went from wanting to be a competitor in MMA to just training jiu-jitsu in order to get my black belt, because I thought that I would have a good career path to fall back on. In MMA, once you're done fighting, if you go and fight in the UFC and you fight 5 to 10 times and then you stop and you retire, what do you fall back on? There's not much. You can open a gym, but it's really hard to run an MMA gym. It's a lot of moving pieces.
Yeah.
And with that being said, also, you know, kids and moms don't want to get punched in the face. You know, they want to train jiu-jitsu. So I thought there was way more to fall back on in business if I was to get my black belt in jiu-jitsu. So, you know, I was having some problems with concussions in MMA. I decided to step away from the sport, and I really wanted to go towards that goal of getting my black belt in jiu-jitsu. On the way to getting my black belt and being able to, like, you know, open a gym and start a business, I was just jumping into some of these tournaments just for fun.
Yeah.
You know, just to go and compete and get kind of like that same rush that I was getting from fighting MMA. And then I just ended up, you know, winning. And then it's like, oh, you just got double gold at Nogi Worlds. Like, I was like, oh, okay. Like, I didn't really, it wasn't like a big goal of mine. I wasn't waking up every day like, I'm going to win worlds. Like, I'm going to win worlds. I wasn't watching the worlds. I didn't know who any of the black belts were.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't know who any of the competitors were. I wasn't really in the sport. It was just like a little side thing that I was doing.
Yeah.
And then it turned into my whole life. It's like crazy how things happen.
Yeah. Pet Project family, we talk about meat all the time on the podcast because protein is essential for your health. That's why I partner with Piedmontese. And if you head to their website, they have so much different types of beef. They have beef sticks, beef jerky, tons of different cuts of meat. You should go check them out. Andrew, how can they learn more?
You guys got to head over to Piedmontese.com. That's Piedmontese.com. And at checkout, enter promo code POWER to save 25% off your entire order. And if your order is over $150 or more, you get free 2-day shipping. Links to them down in the description as well as the podcast show notes.
When you roll, do you feel like you're relaxed, or why is that something
I feel stressed out when I'm rolling. I don't feel relaxed.
Have you ever felt, I mean, like, obviously maybe when you roll with people that are easy, like easier rolls, like you feel relaxed, but do you not feel relaxed when you like roll in competition?
No, when I'm competing now, I definitely feel relaxed.
Okay.
It just comes with experience.
Yeah.
I can remember walking out to the last 80cc and feeling really comfortable. Even though it was like a huge crowd, like 12,000 people, I remember feeling really comfortable, and, you know, I remember passing and feeling kind of like at home. So yeah, I felt really comfortable. It just comes with experience and experience competing at a high level.
Yeah.
And I think experience competing in front of people.
Yeah.
So one big benefit that I did have is that I did fight MMA where it's all eyes on you. And a lot of jiu-jitsu guys aren't used to that. Like, if you go from doing jiu-jitsu tournaments, there's no one really watching, and then you do a super fight where it's all eyes on you at once, it's a different experience.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of experience with that already. And you know, I fought one time in Fresno, my hometown, for Bellator in front of like 5,000 people.
Oh,
So I've already have experience competing in front of big crowds.
yeah.
So yeah, I feel pretty confident.
Did that
comfortable out
mess?
there.
Did that mess with your conditioning a little bit, like in the first few minutes, or just getting into the, just even like getting to the mat? Did you kind of feel like your legs get taken away from you a little bit? Because sometimes people's emotions are so high that it kind of it gets them like kind of hyperventilate.
Yeah, if you're too nervous and you have too much adrenaline, like if you don't have the experience of being there on that stage in that moment, you're so tense. And so then you get the adrenaline dump, and then however long into the match, you just completely gas out.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's good to be loose and comfortable.
In this past ADCC, I mean, you won the East and West Coast trials, you said, yeah?
Okay, so this time I won the East Coast trials to qualify. The last ADCC in 2019, I won the East Coast or the West Coast trials to qualify for that one.
Okay. Now, with this last ADCC, when you look at your performance, because, you know, people are expecting like you to kill at ADCC. How do you feel about your performance there? What do you think happened?
It was just a really weird, unfortunate series of events that happened. Basically, the guy was playing guard, and my strategy was to, you know, play on top and try to pass. But if the pass wasn't there, not to really force it, because at the overtime we would both have to stand up. So the ADCC, how it works is like at the 10-minute mark, if it's 0-0, both guys have to stand up. And then if one guy was to sit to bottom, he would get penalized. So the guy I was going against is really good on bottom. So my strategy was just kind of like to try to pass, but pretty much make him wrestle with me in the overtime.
Yeah.
And at one point he kind of like kicked at me and kind of like tripped me. And I like jokingly like threw a kick back at him.
Yeah.
And they gave me a penalty point for it, which was kind of crazy because guys there at ADCC were like smacking each other, headbutting each other, kicking each other, no penalties. I got a penalty, you know, it happened. It's water under the bridge. And that kind of like forced me to open up, right? I couldn't just wait until the overtime because the penalty counts as a point.
Yeah.
So we wouldn't have.
So that made you rush your game.
So I rushed. I actually dove into a leg entanglement with him, and he's a leg lock specialist. I've never finished anyone with a leg lock, you know?
Yeah.
I'm not a leg lock specialist. It's not I'm not bad at leg locks, but it's not my A game, right? So I went into his A game. You know, I was forced into his A game because I couldn't play mine anymore. And he ended up countering me and tapping me. So,
hey guys, if you like this clip, go ahead and comment down below and let us know what you liked about it. All right. Share this with a friend. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. And also, we are on Reddit and Discord. All that's down below. All our sponsors and everyone that supports us down below there too. So you can get whatever you like from us. All right. Peace.